Well, I'm back to where I started several months ago. Tonight I'm continuing the history moment on a series of Joseph D. Clark, who was the son of Dr. Joseph Lee Clark, and I'm going to be talking about weddings in the rural community of Boones Creek. Now, previously, this would be weddings that occurred more than 100 years ago. Previously, I spoke on politics and elections over a century ago, and in addition to being a country doctor from 1872 to 1926, Dr. Clark was a farmer, school principal, preacher, good neighbor, and a politician who was elected Justice of the Peace 6 terms for 36 years. Today, it is customary to arrange weddings long in advance. Invitations to families and friends, beautiful and expensive wedding dresses, formal or attire, by both the bridesmaid and the groomsmen, flowers, music, solemn vows, photographs, post-ceremony receptions. You know how weddings are today. Before 1920, a couple wanting to marry normally went to the Justice of the Peace. And Dr. Clark was one of those Justices of the Peace. Unlike today, where you would go for a preacher, this was partially because there was no resident ministers in the community, where they only preached once a month. Lay members would normally hold services on the other Sundays. Normally, couples would go to the Justice of Peace, usually without an appointment. It was often the case that couples would appear at Dr. Clark's home and wait for him to return. His children often witnessed marriages held in his parlor once Dr. Clark got home from the evening of visiting his patients out in the community. Every wedding in the living room was very informal. There was no formal clothes, no flowers, no rings, no songs, no prayers. Once Dr. Clark was handed the marriage license they had obtained from the county clerk, he would check it over for the legality of it. Then he'd ask the couple to rise and make a mutual vow of trust and faithfulness through health and sickness until death. If they answered in the affirmative, he would declare that they were husband and wife. That was it. The next day, he would confirm the wedding by dispatching the marriage license to the clerk of the court. And a fee was normally not charged, but sometimes he got a $1 donation for doing this ceremony. One day, a less informal wedding took place on the road. 2 men on one horse and 2 women on another horse rode up to the front gate, and as they were about to dismount, Dr. Clark rode up and appeared on his horse, Cleveland. He steered Cleveland between the visitors' horses and asked them what they wanted. The man in front of the horse and on the front, and the woman on the front of her horse said they wished to get married. He took their marriage license, checked it out, and performed the rites as he did in his home. This was a ceremony of 3 saddles, and as it appeared to be genuine in all the customary weddings that they had in his home. This was the most irregular wedding at home occurred a few days before Christmas. The son, Joseph, who wrote the memoirs I'm referring to, he was coming home from college to enjoy the celebrations of the Christmas season. He was astonished to find that he saw and what he saw and heard. There before his blazing fireplace was his dad in his usual rocker. And beside him was a burly young man and a fairly pregnant woman, and a man sitting there, red-faced, with him. Well, they sat there and they gabbed a little bit, and then the father of the girl, in a solemn and solemn manner, handed the marriage license to the doctor. And he said that he wanted them to marry the couple. But when Dr. Clark was handed it, he noticed that the father was sitting there and had a shotgun in his other hand. And so Joseph said that his fearless dad married the couple anyway, with the usual questions and answers, and noted that he filed it in the court clerk the next day. The couple was taken to the father's home to care and be watched for during her pregnancy. Didn't have a honeymoon. Daddy took her back to his house. And 2 months later, the woman gave birth to a big boy, and Dr. Clark, who married him, delivered the baby. And that is today's history moment. Thank you.